Hey there. What's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Freelance Friday podcast. Today's episode is going to be a really chill, casual one and hopefully pretty short. I just kind of wanted to have a little production meeting with you, really, and just kind of share like a state of my content, I suppose. I wanted to share the updates that I'm making in 2022 for my content marketing plan, because the thing is, content marketing, social media marketing, it is not just like a set it and forget it thing. You definitely need to reevaluate your strategy every single year, really month by month, if I'm being honest, but definitely every year. And I definitely am making some changes to the YouTube channel and the podcast this year. So I wanted to share, how I arrived at those decisions. One, because if you also have a content marketing strategy, you also run a business, you may be able to learn something about how I came to some of these conclusions. And secondly, because I consider you all like my producers, you're the reasons why I create the show and the YouTube channel. And if you are not interested in this content, I'm not going to make it, right? So I actually do have some questions. Please comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or send me a DM if you're listening on the podcast to some of these questions, because I actually do want your opinions on a few things too. So the biggest change that I'm making in 2022 to my content marketing strategy is reducing the number of YouTube uploads. If you watched last year, you know that I was uploading Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday would be the video podcast. Monday would usually be like a tutorial or a tip, some type of educational video. And then usually Wednesdays, I would do a vlog or like a more chill, casual style video. This year, I decided to move to 2 videos a week instead of 3, Monday and Friday. And this is a big question I hear a lot from people who are looking to start YouTube is, how often should I upload? And honestly, my answer is always be consistent. I think you can do 1 video a week. I think you can do 2 videos a week. I think, sure, did I see a lot of growth with 3 videos a week? Yeah, I think it did really help me grow. I think it helped me get traffic to my website, but that does come with a caveat. And the caveat is that you have to be producing quality content, right? And I'm going to be honest, I'm really proud of everything, maybe not everything, most things that I've put out on my YouTube channel. I really am. I put my heart into every video. I mean it. Even sponsored videos, even chill vlogs. Like, I really think very deeply about what I put out there, and I want you all to enjoy it, and I want to be proud of it. But I do feel like maybe the quality was slipping a little bit. And even if the quality wasn't slipping a ton, like even if it wasn't noticeable to you all, I was feeling it. I was getting really burnt out, and YouTube has never been something I wanted to treat like a job. I mean, I do treat it like a job, but I don't want to treat it so much like a job that I resent it or that I hate it. I truly have connected with so many of you all from YouTube and whatever. So I still want it to be something I enjoy. Now, when it comes to deciding what types of content, I went to my analytics. The cool thing about YouTube is the analytics are pretty detailed, and I like to look at what people are searching for to get to my channel. A lot of people were looking for social media kinds of videos, and specifically social media videos that honestly aren't even that hard to produce. I mean, my top performing video so far of 2022 was created on my MacBook. And, I'm going to be honest, this is also something that's kind of like a mental block for me, because I have this problem where it's like, I don't want things to be too easy. I almost feel like that's like cheating. Like, I'm just making a MacBook video. Like, I'm just doing a Zoom call basically, But why is that cheating, or why is that not good? I don't know. I think for a long time, I felt like everything had to be like this certain artsy, cinematic style or something. But like, if your audience wants that content and it's easy for you to create more of that content. I mean, I don't know what to say, but I'm trying to just let it be a little easier and respond to what you need within reason, of course. So if you have any requests for I don't know, people always ask me show your processes. And I'm like, what processes? What do you want to see? So if you have something specific you want to see, definitely comment on YouTube or send me a DM. Now, with that said, I don't want to just become a screen share channel either. So of course, I'm still going to keep the podcast on Fridays on YouTube. I think that it's really helped to grow the show. Growing a podcast is hard. This is something that I think a lot of people don't talk about very much. Is it's quite easy to start up a podcast, but the SEO for podcasting platforms is not the same as YouTube or Google or blogging. I really don't understand how it works, and it definitely takes a while to actually start ranking on those platforms. And it's an easy way to repurpose content, right? I'm already recording the podcast, so why not just pop a camera in front of me and record for YouTube as well? But I also want to play around a little bit more with some entertaining content. When I think about why I go onto YouTube, unless it's something really specific, like how to connect Flowdesk to Thinkific or whatever, the videos I click on are like, honestly, you guys, the videos I click on are embarrassing. At the end of the day, people come to these platforms to be entertained. So I also want to create entertaining content. I did my Emily in Paris video, which was also a top performer for me so far this year. And it was out of my comfort zone. I didn't know if people were going to like it, but I think there are opportunities where I can expand this digital marketing world a little bit to not be so technical. I got a couple of comments. Actually, I think it was on that Emily in Paris video. It said, I really like this video. A lot of your content is really too dense for me. It's too technical for me. And I always feel like, again, this is probably imposter syndrome, but a lot of times I'm like, I'm not teaching enough. I'm not, I'm just anybody can Google this, right? This isn't helpful. And really, it's what I tell my students. It's what I tell my clients. It's, yeah, you only have to know a little bit more than the person who's watching, right? You don't have to know everything. And actually, simple is usually better. Otherwise, it gets really overwhelming. So I'm trying to take that advice myself too. I think the more tutorials and things like that, boom, we can do heavy hitting, dense content, really techie stuff. But I can also balance that out with some more entertaining content that's maybe a little bit softer, maybe a little easier to digest, and maybe, I don't know, a little bit fun. Shall we? Should I dare? I also want to say from the data side of things, I also made this decision after looking at Google Analytics and seeing how this would impact my course sales. And what I found was the more intentional content I was putting out was seeing those GA spikes. It wasn't me putting up a video because I felt like I had to put up a video. So I'm going to continue to watch revenue. I'm going to continue to watch traffic to the course website and make sure that I'm not making a mistake and that I'm not seeing them all drop. But I don't think that's going to happen because I think I'm enabling myself to put a higher level of quality into each video versus kind of spreading that out. But we'll see for sure. Now, there is a content type that I'm leaving out here, right? And that is vlogs. That's a more personal vloggy style content. I actually want to circle back to that after I talk about the podcast, just because I don't want it to become this long rant. I tend to do that whenever I talk about this topic. So we'll come back to vlogs and my plan for that after I get into podcast content. Okay, so for the podcast, I'm going to be honest. I miss talking to people. I did a short form audio series called Online Business Launch Lab, and I interviewed 5 or 4, I think, people just for kind of a short run series, just for funsies, just to kind of celebrate the launch of my new program and my new website, which is hosting all of my courses. And honestly, that was so much fun for me. I'm very introverted, but that doesn't mean I don't like people. I actually love people. I'm fascinated by people. I just, it does take up energy. So I'm trying to figure out a way to balance the interviews. I asked a little bit on Twitter. I asked a little bit on Instagram, but I'm curious what you all think as well of, if we should. I think back in the day, I used to do every other episode was an interview. Then I would do one a month. Should I do a bonus episode that's an interview? I don't want to take away from what you all already like. So if that means I do same schedule as always, and maybe just on the 3rd Monday of the month, we do a bonus with an interview or something. I don't know. Let me know if you have strong feelings either way, because I definitely do not only really enjoy it, I really had fun, but I just know a lot of people and can meet a lot of people who can bring you things that I can't. I definitely do not know everything. I'm definitely still forever a student. So if there are particular topics and things that you want to hear about, definitely let me know. Now, this is one some people might not want to hear. Some people really might not want to hear this. Let me take a sip of coffee. But honestly, I think I'm ready to get paid for my show. So let me explain to you how podcast payments work or podcast revenue works. There is none. That's the gag, right? I think sometimes, all this talk about Joe Rogan and all this stuff, you hear about this $100 million deal that he has. I think sometimes people think that every podcaster has a podcasting deal. And that's just not true. Just like every author doesn't have a book deal. Some people are self-publishing a book. That's basically what I'm doing for the podcast. And just the disclaimer, like that I always have to put on is I'm never complaining. I'm so grateful. I'm so lucky, blah, blah, blah. I really am. I truly have like one of the best jobs in the world. So I'm not complaining, but I do make $0.00 from the podcast. In fact, I actually have to pay, for hosting and editing. That stuff is all out of pocket. So I'm technically like in the negative. Now, one of the big decisions I made last year was to put the podcast on YouTube. And I'll be honest, part of that was all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, but part of it was financial as well, because I do get paid for YouTube videos. So, some people have asked me too, like, do you have a Patreon and all this stuff? First of all, don't give me your money. If you do want to support the show, the easiest thing to do is to watch the show on YouTube. I think I've only done like one sponsorship for the podcast specifically. And I think we're at the point, like, I'm not a baby podcast anymore. I mean, I'm definitely not like Joe Rogan or anything over here, but my listens are well beyond the average listens for a podcast. And, we're growing every day. So that's something that I want to explore. In my dream world, I would be able to get one sponsor to sign for a year contract. So I'm going to manifest that. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, I know I do have some brands who listen. You can go to latashajames.com/podcast, and there is a form there where you can inquire and reach out to my partnerships manager. Plug. Okay, I did a video late last year kind of talking about my social media wins, also some of my flops, and I mentioned that I was still testing out TikTok. This isn't really like content marketing, this is like social media, but let's talk about it. I'm still testing TikTok, I guess. Not loving TikTok. Something I've noticed about TikTok, it's a very surface level connection for me. And I'm not trashing TikTok, okay? I just want to say this. Everybody always accuses me of like being a hater. I'm not trashing it. It's just a very interesting thing. Like I notice I can have a video blow up on there. Blow up for me is like, 300 likes or whatever. A few people might follow from that, but they don't really like care about me or like what I have to say. And it's fine. I'm not mad about that. I'm respecting the platform and what it is, but I just find like my YouTube audience, I build relationships. My podcast audience, I feel like we build relationships. We get to know each other. We talk to each other back and forth. TikTok is just not that platform. It is so fast moving. It is so trendy. It is so, it's just like a very fleeting platform, I find. I'm not saying it doesn't have value. Have I seen quantifiable value for myself and my brand? Not really, personally, but that's just me. I am very much in a season of like not wanting to be pigeonholed into things. I am a multi-dimensional human being, as are a lot of you all. Like, I'm not just an entrepreneur or an online business owner or a social media manager or course creator or a YouTuber. Like, I am a person. I am a woman before anything else. Now we're going off on a tangent here, but I don't want to be pigeonholed into being like, you have to be the social media girl on TikTok. Like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. Somebody else can be that. It ain't me. So with that said, I'm actually going longer form, which is probably like the dumbest decision ever. People are probably like, Latasha is sinking her career right now, but I don't know. We'll see, right? I started a Substack that's just kind of like a personal blog/email list for myself as I'm going through the process of writing a book, which is like the longest form content you can create, right? I'm also investing a lot more into my email list for the business. So, we're sending out weekly emails that are basically like blog posts as well, and have the job board on there. I'm considering starting an OBLL blog. I don't know if that's going to happen because I can only write so much, right? I'm writing a book. I'm writing a newsletter. I'm writing a second newsletter, or at least editing a second newsletter. So yeah, I probably am not going to be writing blogs for OBLL, but maybe we open that up to contributors or to like a staff writer or something. So yeah, I think I'm just in search of deeper connections. Even with the courses, we're moving towards a lot of the cohort-based courses, which are just seriously life for me. So fun. I love being able to see your faces and get to know your individual stories instead of just doing like evergreen courses. So yeah, I'm going for deeper. I'm going for deeper connections, which means that like TikTok is not my MO. I'm still testing it. I'm still playing around with it, but it's mostly playing around. So lastly, let's talk about the vlogs. I still want to vlog. Let me just like get out in front of it and say, I definitely still will vlog when I feel that it really makes sense to. You know, when I travel, I love my Dallas video is one of my favorite videos of 2021. It was sponsored, so I don't know if maybe that's why people tuned out, but I think that was one of the best videos I created all last year. It was a lot of fun, thought it was entertaining. I love videos like that, you know, when I'm actually doing something. So yes, when I do business travel or when I have cool things happening in the business, I definitely still want to vlog and capture that experience. But I think I am kind of over just doing the traditional format of a week in my business, of just sitting at my desk and sharing so many personal moments, even though they're not anything like, I think sometimes people think when I say personal moments, I'm like sharing all these deep, dark secrets. I'm not. But things like sharing what I'm eating, things like sharing, you know, stuff about my relationships. I'm just not feeling it right now in this season of my life. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And I really, again, I don't want to woe is me. I'm so lucky, so grateful. I love this community. But yeah, you know, it got to a point last year where I was vlogging. I was posting a week in my business video like every week, which means I was vlogging every day of my life, except for the weekends, which even some weekends I would vlog a little bit. So like, I just don't think that's healthy. So that's the plan for 2022. Let me know in the comments what you think, or, you know, if you are making any similar changes to your content. I know I said this is going to be a short episode and it's looking at the clock and it's about 30 minutes. So I'm going to try to cut this down a little bit, but I hope it was interesting, helpful. Again, I really appreciate those of you who tune in to the podcast and to the YouTube channel every single week. I totally consider you all my producers and like you are a part of this journey. So I really do want to know what you think and what you want to see more of. If there are any topics, any ideas, any guests you want me to get on the show, please let me know. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you back here on Friday for a new podcast. Bye.